But we're going to take a turn from that. And I want the ladies in on this one because I want the parents, particularly the parents. Carlton, I know you're a parent too, but I want the ladies first, and you and I will comment after them. This one is about a high school. Getting this one from my Philly Fox. I'm also getting it from the blackhomeschool.com. So it's the same story. I'm going to kind of merge the different reportings of it. But basically what it is a homework assignment for sophomore biology students at Mentor High School. It's obviously raising some eyebrows. One problem asks a student to figure out who could be excluded as the father of a baby based on the blood types of the baby, the mother, and a pool of 4 men. Brandy Feldner was alarmed when her 15-year-old daughter showed her the assignment. She saw the potential fathers of the baby were identified as, quote, Sammy the player, George the sleaze, the waiter, or the cable guy. And another problem, the possible fathers were identified as the bartender, the guy at the club, the cab driver, or the flight attendant. Now, quote, Ms. Feldner says, I can't shield her from the world completely, but it's her education. I just feel like they worded it completely wrong. Some parents do agree that it's a typical biology lesson. Quote, I would think it would be important, maybe not the exact name of the person, I would think, but as far as knowing your type and my type and being able to figure that out, that it's a medical thing, I would think. I will leave it there for now. I want to get some comments in here. That's why I'm coming to you on this one first, because, you know, it's one of those things like if you give me eye contact, I'm coming to you.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop looking at you.
Yeah, you have to stop looking at me because you're giving me the face like, what in the hell? What in the hell? Not just what the hell.
What in the
hell
is going on?
Yes.
Now, from what I thought I heard.
Now, let me stop before you say anything. Let me stop you. And I catch some heat from my brother KW. He says I always cut folks off.
He sure does.
Yeah, I know, and he's right. And I didn't mean to cut you off. But the reason why I did that is because what I just noticed about the 2 articles that I have, I think this is relevant. So that's why I stopped you.
Okay.
2 different schools in 2 different states.
Stop telling tales. What are the states?
Thing. The other one was Cleveland, Ohio. This one is in Michigan. And I just noticed that it's 2 different stories.
Does anybody know what those
I thought it was the same.
Are like?
Say again now?
Those schools, the background schools, like the ratio of
I don't see it. And apparently this is and let me just add this last piece. Apparently it is a test that had been gotten from a online data bank because different school, different state, same names. Bartender, cab driver, cable guy, flight attendant, guy at the club, mailman. Okay. Same stuff. So I wanted to throw that out there, and also wanted to have a reason to shout my man Kate up out too.
But yes, he does cut people off.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
So now, originally, I thought I heard you say that they had to determine who was going to be the father of the baby by blood type.
Yes.
Is that what I thought I heard?
Yes, you heard that correctly. Yes, based upon the those are the names, and then there's a photograph here of the test, and I'm showing the crew now. If you see where it says Sammy the player is type O, George the sleaze is AB, the waiter is type A, and mother and baby. You can see mother and baby are A and B. So one of them dudes, based on the blood type, you got to figure out which one of them is the likely father.
And this would cause an uproar. Parent Sharon.
First of all, the answer is the cable guy. Sorry. Cut you off.
Did she get it for the whole apartment complex?
At that time, I did it on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Did she get it for the whole apartment complex?
I would have a problem going to school with the test. My child would not take your test because the blood type in this biology class has nothing to do with the occupation of the owner of the blood. So why does the blood type have to label Sammy the cable guy, Jimmy the bartender, blah, blah, blah? So the reason I asked about the areas, if anybody had any ideas about the areas, because maybe this is what they call a low income area or the poverty area or whatever you want to call it. And this is just some BS. Some teacher pulled up and, again, being negative.
David,
so that test pissed me off.
David, what you think about this?
Okay, I'm going to play the devil's advocate because even though the names sound inappropriate, I don't see necessarily a racial connotation because Sammy, the whoever player, could be any race.
Right.
No, I don't think I set it up by adding a racial component.
You know, the taxi driver could be any race.
Well, did I? Because if I did, let me know because I never intended to do that.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is why are we upset other than, I guess, the nicknames or whatever? They could have put Bob, Ted.
But why is he not
Malcolm,
Sam the lawyer or,
how
Billy
did
the
the question go
fireman?
again? Give me the first part of the question.
The question is set up. It says possible fathers identified as the bartender, the guy at the club, the cab driver, or the flight attendant. And again, if I set that up in a racial component, that was never what my intention was. So someone please tell me if I did that, because that was not my intention. My intention, which is the reason why I wanted to come to the ladies as parents first, was to get your opinion as parents. To tell me if you think this, because I got a very interesting perspective on this that I'll share after the crew does. Pick up there.
Well, I was just going to say too, okay, not a racial thing, even a socioeconomic thing. There's a gamut of jobs there. You got the flight attendant, and who else? You got the it's not like all poor people. The bartender.
The blood type of the father.
Well, I guess they were just using those names so that you could do the genetic, equation. You know what I'm saying? They could have put Sam or any other name.
Why are we even labeling the blood type?
Because you have to work out the problem genetically. I've had stuff like I've taken genetics before, and you have to have somebody label either X, Y, or some,
Well, then why can't we label them X or Y like we do math?
The job description was unnecessary.
It's easy to see them as a person when you give them a name.
The job description was totally unnecessary. If the question was posed to you as a young woman, saying your baby father was one of these four men.
My baby daddy is a bartender.
You shouldn't be. I mean, the teacher could have been trying to add some humor by giving a description to each of the characters. I don't know. But unless they're addressing you directly, saying, is your baby daddy the cable guy? Is your baby daddy the bartender? Is your baby daddy the air flight attendant?
Yeah.
Unless they're directing it to you directly, then you can be offensive. Otherwise, again, if you know the teacher could be portraying it as a joke or something of that nature.
How's that funny?
I didn't say it was.
I know, but how would you think that the teacher could be doing this as a joke?
You have to know the teacher in order to consume that.
Tell the teacher, meet me under the L, 4:00. See how funny it is.
What you think, Tony?
I don't see the big deal. I mean, it's high school, right?
Yes.
These are high school students.
Yes.
I mean, to me, Carlton said, maybe the teacher did it to be funny or make it, humorous, but to me, these are high school kids, and you got to catch their attention. I don't see anything wrong with it. Like you said, there was no sort of racial connotation attached to it. It's just, I can see kids, teenagers working in groups, and some, they're like, all right, we got who's A, who's B. All right, Sammy the sleeves. No, it's gonna be. I think to me that kind of gets them more involved. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Right.
I don't see anything negative about it. The kids are learning. That's the whole point. And if that's what it takes to draw them in, then that's what you got to do.
And if you really want to flip it to a positive standpoint, it could be the teacher saying, if you're not careful, one of these dudes could be your baby daddy.
Yeah, I could see that. Now,
so don't just think of it as a negative side.
Here's where when I saw the story, it was one of them stories where I had a strong reaction to it, but I couldn't put my finger on what my reaction was. Like, I wasn't sure if I was upset about it or I was offended about it, and I basically decided right before we went live what my position was going to be. I don't like it because the connotation of there being 4 potential baby daddies here is something that I think is the elephant in the room that no one touched on. And that was the first thing that I noticed once I kind of really thought it through. If you want to do this as a biology project, then you can word it differently and you can say, which one of these, and not put the names down, is the potential, father of this particular child. But once you start labeling them by name, then there's the connotation of mom potentially having been with all four of these at the same time, and one of them is the baby daddy. You know, now everybody has their opinion on how they view that, but once I kind of thought it through, that's what jumped out at me, especially when we live in a culture where one of the more popular TV shows is Maury and Jerry. They even got a TV show called, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head.
Paternity Court?
Paternity Court.
But
yeah.
that's real life.
Right, but it's...
Where do you
but
think people go to figure out paternity?
Right.
That's real.
I understand that it's real, but everything that's real don't need to be on television.
But have you ever watched Paternity Court?
I refuse to sit down and give a show
you
called
can't,
Paternity
can't,
Court.
Right, but this
5
woman
minutes
is
of my life.
But this woman is a real judge, and she doesn't just determine paternity, but she teaches people this is what happens when you're reckless, when you're careless. You end up going through your whole life not knowing who your children grow up not knowing who their father are. You have adults on there who have grown up not knowing their entire life who their parents are. I mean, this woman is still a judge, and it's nothing, there's some trifling people on there, but it's a real show. I mean, that's a part of life. Not everybody grew up with their mom and dad married, and they know that their dad was their dad and their mom was their mom.
Fair enough.
That's real life.
Fair enough. Point well taken. But when it comes on in a block with Maury and Jerry in the middle of those two shows, I'm sorry, the credibility for me is just not there. It's just not there. You name your show Paternity Court, and it comes on after Maury, when we know that Maury 25 years ago had a respectable show, just like Jerry did, and they both devolved into the nonsense.
You are the father.
You know, and every single time I happen to turn the TV on, you know, from last night, and it happens to be on the channel that it was on last night, and I'm, you know, tortured with 30 seconds of Maury before I get to the remote fast enough to flip the channel, and that's all they say. Now, I didn't speak directly to Paternity Court because I have not watched it. The name of the show and the fact that it's in a block with those other two shows was really enough for me, you know, because of the way you set it up. Potentially, I may check it out and see, you know, the accuracy of what you just laid out for us. But I can tell you, you know, I'm going to go into it with skepticism, Diva.
Well, I was just going to add on to what Miss Tony said. You know, the show Paternity Court is kind of like if you watched Divorce Court before, and you have the judge on there. What's her name?
Maybelline?
Not Maybelline now. It's Lynn Toler now.
I don't know.
Where she not only, you know, like does the actual legal stuff, but she kind of counsels them and talks to them. That's kind of how Paternity Court is too. It's more of a deeper show than what you might think it is.
I can dig it. Fair enough.
But if it's Paternity Court, I mean, that means I'm trying to figure out who the heck is the parent. I mean, what's the premise of this show? I mean,
for example, the other day there was an episode where this young woman who was, I would say, maybe early 20s, her mother was on there with her. There were 3 men that this girl's mother was with around the same time. They all looked like they could have been brothers, but her daughter basically grew up thinking that all 3 of those men were her father. Like her mom just honestly did not know.
Okay.
So, you know, now you have this 20-some-year-old young woman who, you know, she's tired of going to like every holiday. She's breakfast at one's house, lunch at the other's house, and dinner at the other's house. And she's finally at the point where, you know what, I want to know who my father is. Right. So she was able to find out. And, you know, the 2 men that weren't her father were crushed. They were absolutely crushed. And I mean, these are people who are in their 50s, at least, maybe pushing 60 or just over 60. Gotcha. But, you know, the judge explained to her mom, too. You know, her mom is like, oh, I just want her to know. But to me, the show is great for these young girls and even grown women who are out there sleeping with people, don't really know them. You don't really have a bond, a connection, or relationship with them. And you end up having a child. It's not just you that this is affecting. It affects your child and their entire life. So now this girl has lived this way for the first 21 years of her life. Now everything is totally different.
That is true.
I can dig it. And you know how Step on Marcus J. Call us at 804-402-2893. Last thing I want to get to in this particular segment, I'm getting this one. Finally, I'm getting an article from my favorite location, SY, which is known as
the Huffington Post.
All right, this one is about Ronald Plishka. He's a gay man who had a heart attack. He says that the Catholic priest refused to give him last rites. He's a lifelong Catholic. Wasn't sure that he would survive an ambulance ride to the hospital in Washington, D.C. So he requested a priest give him communion and administer last rites. Father Brian Colho, a priest assigned to the hospital's Department of Spiritual Care, arrived at his bedside to perform the sacrament of anointing of the sick, but stopped preparing for communion once he found out that Pliska was gay. Pliska told the Blade that Colho offered to take his confession before proceeding with communion and sacramental rites. Quote, we started talking. I told him I was so happy with this new pope because of his comments about the gays and his accepting gays. And I mentioned that I was gay. And I said it, and then I asked him, does it bother him? And he said, oh, no, that does not bother me. The Washington Post reported the conversion was interrupted by another person coming into the room, which Pliska shared with another patient. Pliska then said that after his revelation, Colho simply, quote, would not continue, end quote, with the anointing of the sick, sacrament, or administration of communion, and he offered no explanation. Quote, he said, I will pray for you. I will pray with you, but that's all he'll do. That was it. Pliska said he was shocked and angered. He said he wanted to pray. That's what he wanted to do. He said, well, I could pray with you. And I just told him, get the F out of here. Excuse me, but that's what I told him. I'll leave it there. Of course, obviously, there's more. I don't want to get into much more of it. Tony, I'll start with you. Hearing this story, when we know yesterday we had the first gay person to play in a national the first gay person to play in one of the four major sports here in America. Jason Collins played for the Brooklyn Nets in Los Angeles last night. And we also know, I don't know if they won or not.
I think they did.
I don't know. And we also know that Michael Sam is a gay football college player who very likely will become at some point the first openly gay football player in the National Football League. With that setup, that backdrop, what's your thoughts on this case?
It's hypocritical. You know, as a Christian, you love everyone. You try to help everyone. Jesus didn't turn anybody away. He didn't say, well, Mary Magdalene, you a hoe, so you can't roll with me. Get away from me. He didn't do that. And that's hypocritical, not just, I know a lot of people think that most Christians are hypocritical, but that's just because they don't care enough to really come to learn and understand Christianity and the beliefs. But I just think it's absolutely hypocritical for you to say that you're a man of God and you turn away someone just because, they don't live their life in maybe a way that you as a person agree with.
That's why. She's struggling with this one. You can see she's struggling with this one.
I really am.
Well, it's radio, so you got to say something. So
I did. I said,
Well, you want me to take the heat off you for a minute?
Well, it is somewhat hypocritical. There's a belief that you shouldn't be that way, and man and woman and blah blah blah. But yeah, God loves everybody, and you don't have to be his friend or lay there and hold his hand, but it's just a prayer for his soul.
We getting some love in social media. I want to say what's up to the folks listening to us in my hometown of Jersey City. I knew it was only a matter of time before the lights would pop on there. We see you down there in Portsmouth, which is the Tidewater area here in Virginia. We appreciate that. Lights are still on in Georgia and all over Richmond, Virginia. We getting a lot of love here in Richmond, so we appreciate that. Carlton Banks, I'm gonna come to the diva on this one in a minute. I want you to jump in. What's your thoughts on this story, man?
Well, the priest has a right to deny if he doesn't believe that way, but that's not the church's belief. I believe the church has accepted that, and they even have gay and female and lesbian priests now. So, he could be that old school priest that said, I'm not ready for it yet. No, I'm not going to do it. But in my respect, I would think that he would be able to do it and accept it because of the simple fact he is a man of the cloth, and he is coming to him in a moment of vulnerability, as you would say.
Yeah. Joy says that's nuts. She's a Christian, but that's a mess. Diva, What you
Yep,
think?
it is.
I think it's a mess. I think that, it definitely is hypocritical because there's so many Catholics out there that are gay, that, molested children, of the same sex and everything else. So I don't understand why you would deny this gay man his last rites. I don't understand that. And it sounds like from what you said in the story, initially he was going to do it, but then someone walked in the room and so he decided not to. I mean, what kind of belief system is that about?
And how Steppin with Marcus. Jay, we appreciate the comments from the crew. We're getting a call from the 757. Caller, what's your name? What you calling about tonight?
What's going on, brother? My name is AC.
What's up, AC? How you doing, brother?
I'm blessed. I'm calling out of the Hampton area right now. I love the program, love the format. I was just my first time listening to it.
Word.
I was just got put on to it this evening. One of my great associates here put me on to it. So I just wanted to just chime in on this topic right here, particularly. I kind of agree with the first young lady as she spoke. She said in reference to the fact that being Christian and that we have to love everybody. I feel strongly as a second young lady with the side because it's really tough to condone a lot of people's negative lifestyles, but still be that Christian in the Christian standpoint, in the Christian state. It reflects negatively upon those around us, but it does give us a sort of narrow-minded perspective as to stating and saying that just because that they are homosexual, that we can't accept. For those that don't know, let me put it out there because we are on internet radio. Shout out to people up in Jersey. I'm originally from New York, Westchester County. Yonkers, stand up.
Yonkers. Oh, School Street.
Yeah, that's what's up. But Donnie McClurkin was a homosexual for 25 years.
Right.
Okay, and a lot of people respect him in the Christian network and Christian music aspect. And he said that God redeemed him from his sins, so on and so forth. And with that being said, it's just a matter of God can do all things when in Jehovah, Yeshua, Yahweh, whatever language you want to put it in perspective, he could do all things when you allow him to operate in your life. And the issue is these people or individuals choose not to allow him to operate in their life. And so therefore they are blinded, they are lost, they are misguided in that direction. And they have to find themselves as an individual. And they can't be anybody other than who they are. The crazy part about it is when people say that, I was born this way. Because, the Most High Creator never makes a mistake. Whether you're born with an amputee with one arm or you're born with leukemia, he never makes a mistake. There's always a divine message that goes within every prospect and every aspect of our life. And we have to look at that as a total instead of being ostracizing people to some degree, because we as a church community, we're going to miss people when they come in hungover from the club. Whether it's the cable guy, whether it's the bartender, or whomever else it may be. You know what I mean? We're going to miss those people and miss those opportunities to catch that soul. And sometimes, you got to go to the club. And people ministers like, I'll never get caught in the club. You got to go to the club. He didn't come here in this world to catch those that are healthy. He came here to catch those that are sick.
Right.
And so if you got to meet people at their needs, that's what the true level of ministry is about.
Right.
I didn't want to take a monopolized opportunity, but it was just so strong I felt about it. You got to meet people where they are.
Right.
So sometimes it means that you got to meet that homosexual individual at that perspective, and in order to show them the God that's in you and to get that brought forth, then so be it. I mean, they put their pants leg on one leg at a time, just like you do. There's sins that you have committed that you may not have asked for forgiveness for, that we can't look at them and say, well, just because you like X, Y, and Z over here, then I'm going to knock you, and I'm not going to accept you as such.
Right.
And that's pretty much it, brother. I appreciate the opportunity. Shout out to Shika, and I'm going to keep it moving on that note.
AC, we appreciate it,
wow.
man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling.
I agree with everything you said, brother. You hit the nail right on the head. We appreciate the support that you gave us tonight, listening to us, calling us up.
Absolutely. I'm going to continue to listen. I'm digging it. I feel it. I love the perspective. It's good to hear things from an intelligent, intellectual, articulate perspective. And being able to have individuals to continue to just grow forward and just move forward.
You got it.
We
right?
like
I appreciate
you.
Y'all stay blessed.
You got it, brother. Thanks again, brother. Be cool, man. We'll talk to you next time. Call us up anytime.
All right. Peace.
Peace. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. That was great, man. That was a good call.
Very
We
nice,
appreciate
yeah.
AC listening to us down there in the 757. Gonna take our first break of the night, y'all. And when we come back, we are going to have a healthy segment from our girl SY. She always likes to give us a little bit of a tease of what the healthy segment is about. Well, give me just a little tease, like Flash.
It hurts.
It hurts. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. During this break, after we have a word from our sponsor, we're going to have Jesse L. Williams of Grey's Anatomy is going to share some thoughts that will definitely hit on some of the things that we talked about right there in that first segment. SY, Dating Pool Diva, Miss Tony, Carlton Banks, AC, me, and you on social media. We'll be back in a few minutes.